Where would we be without water? Well, we wouldn't be anywhere. Our bodies are mostly water. Let me tell you about my last trip to the beach with my mother. She was over 90. Though her feet were slow, her thoughts were quick. As we made our way from the car, walking down Coney Island Avenue towards Brighton Beach, she suddenly started talking about what a shock it would be for an Aboriginal man who lived there 500 years earlier if he were suddenly to be brought there at that very moment. How incomprehensible he would find the buildings, the streets, the cars. Then, as we crossed over the boardwalk and came onto the beach, she exclaimed, "But this he would know." And then her imagination flew up into the air, and she imagined what it would be like to be a bird flying over the water, searching for food. And then her thoughts swooped down, and she wondered what it would be like to be the water itself, and what it would be like to be a wave crashing on the shore. Earlier, before we left her house, she had changed her shoes. She told me that she wanted ones that she could take off easily because she wanted to get her feet into the water and kick it up into the air and look at the sparkling drops. I had no such plans for myself. It was early spring. Though the day was mild, I knew the water would be freezing cold. We had our winter coats on. But then, I always knew my mother was a madwoman. Who was I to spoil her fun? In the end, on the beach in actuality, my mother never did take her shoes off that day. In some way, that was how I knew that she was getting old. The lesson I learned from my mother: whether at a river or at an ocean, take your shoes off and get your feet wet whenever that is both possible and appropriate. Do not be too limited in your judgment of what is both possible and appropriate. And what were the lessons her own mother taught her on holidays at the beach in Far Rockaway, that grandmother that I never knew? Maybe it was more specific about caution, even while enjoying the water. You may swim, but not too far out. Watch out for riptides. My parents always took me to the beach in cold weather, when the idea of swimming was absurd, even for a madwoman like my mother. She did teach me to swim, something she thought important, but in the more limited pools of cold New Hampshire rivers. Less chance of losing a child in those waters. And what is my lesson to you? I who am more like my father than my mother. What do I have to say? Well, there is this. Water is a molecule made up of two hydrogen atoms covalently bound to an oxygen atom with a bond angle of about 105 degrees. Hydrogen bonds form, linking a hydrogen atom on one molecule to an oxygen atom on another molecule, creating the large multimolecular structures that give water its many amazing properties. It is the main material that is liquid on Earth. Did you know this? That water is most dense at a temperature a few degrees warmer than its freezing point? Ice floats. Because of this, bodies of water freeze from the top down, with warmer water remaining under the ice. In winter, the creatures that live in the water stay alive under the ice. They do not freeze. How beautiful the earth is seen from afar, with its watery blue and white patches and swirls. Blue because of the oceans reflecting the sky, and white because of the clouds floating in the sky, and the polar ice caps. If you were born after the Apollo Project spaceflights that brought men to the moon, photographs such as this one may not seem so extraordinary to you, since they have always existed for you. But I was already 18 years old when NASA shared this first color image of the Earth taken by astronaut William Anders on December 24, 1968, as Apollo 8 orbited the moon. Taken near the end of a year full of strife, a time of war and political assassinations in the United States, this photograph, dubbed Earthrise, immediately caught people's imagination, serving as an inspiration, though with more than a slight hint of warning. When I look out over a large body of water to the horizon, the words that often pop into my mind are infinite possibility. As is so often the case, there is a bit of an internal argument. Hardly infinite, my rational self scoffs. You've learned about this. The curve of the Earth's surface, the great expanse of the ocean. It's large, but not infinite. The dreamer in me answers, as close to infinity as you will see. So, on a day when the sea is calm and the water is warm, let me suggest that you take your shoes off and get your feet wet, so that you experience a tactile connection with our watery world, especially the water, whose properties allow life as we know it to exist on Earth. Look out at the water. Let your imagination, whether fanciful or analytical, or maybe a bit of both, just float. In, on, or above the water, let your thoughts float as you consider infinite possibility.